Thank you for hanging with us. We do appreciate it. That's Derek Gunn. I'm Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take. All right, let's swing it back to the old pigskin, Derek. Let's talk a little football here. Let's first talk about the Eagles running back usage, and then we'll get into our greatest series, which is the Atlanta Falcons today. They have four, very competent guys as we enter camp here.
Yep.
With DeAndre Swift and Rashad Penny and Kenneth Gainwell and Boston Scott. So you go in with four guys, none of which you'd feel bad, giving the ball to in any situation, which is great. But it's part of the model of the NFL now, Derek. They're paying these guys $7 million a year for all four, which is crazy to think about. Amazing. But they all have their own. I'm going to sound like Liam Neeson here. Particular set of skills, right? So, DeAndre Swift is a home run hitter, really good catching passes out of the backfield. Rashad Penny is more of a power back with a very high yard per carry average in his career, extremely high, in fact. Boston Scott, whenever given the opportunity in short yardage, is excellent. Kenneth Gainwell is really a combo guy, kind of like Swift, in that he can catch the ball as well out of the backfield. So you have four, really nice players. I thought Sirianni was interesting, and when he was asked about this, he said, "Look, I'm not afraid of the committee thing, and I'm not afraid of using one guy. I really don't care. However the game goes is going to dictate what I do. If I got a guy that's hot, I'm rolling with him. If he's not, or somebody else shows me a little something, I'm going that direction. If it's a game where nobody's really getting huge chunks, I'll try a bunch of different things." He's very open-minded, and I believe him. I don't think that's just coach speak about how they're going to approach this thing.
And if he put it out there publicly, that means he's already had these discussions with the holdovers from last year, meaning Gainwell and Boston Scott, and these new guys before they decided to sign here in Philadelphia. And I do believe the new guys signed here basically because this gives me the best opportunity possibly at this moment in time in my career to get to that Super Bowl, something they haven't done before as well. Obviously, they didn't come here for the money. It wasn't about the money, because I'm sure both of them, Swift, they could have got more money somewhere else, But it's about putting themselves in a position to succeed, and they understand that. Now, here's the one caveat you have to keep watching for.
Right.
Somebody's going to be unhappy. There's going to be somebody who's going to be unhappy because their touches are not going to be anywhere near what they will hope for. The only guy who will not be unhappy is Boston Scott, because he knows his role. But Kenny Gainwell, if he's thinking, "Hey, man, I hope you guys get to the Super Bowl. I deserve my touches." DeAndre Swift, I've proven I'm a commodity in this league. I can game break at any given moment. I got to have my touches. Kenny has shown I'm as tough a runner as anybody in the National Football League, not named Derrick Henry. I got to get my touches. Somebody's not going to be happy.
You could be. Look, the other interesting thing is the only guy who's under contract beyond this year is Kenny Gainwell. So you're going to have three guys that all are going to want to go out there and play extremely well, simply because they're going to want to get deals, paid more than they're getting paid this year, longer term deals than what they have right now currently. Yeah. So there's reason for high motivation from all three of them. But you're right. Look, Rashad Penny decided to sign here. I know DeAndre Swift was a trade.
Yeah, Tone. Thank you for updating me, Tone. Yes.
Yeah. But, Boston Scott decided to come back. So you knew what you were getting. That's just the way it is. If you didn't like it, you could have gone elsewhere. At least two of them could have.
Yep. And I think the dynamic is I think on the plus side, these guys have to say to themselves, I should be fresher in games. Week in and week out, I should be fresher because of the depth here. There's nobody. If you look up and down rosters in the National Football League, there is no team in the league that has better quality of running backs than the Philadelphia Eagles. Mm-hmm. No team can say they can go 4 deep and feel real comfortable about inserting that person in any given situation. As long as they stay healthy.
Well, you know what it is, Derek, and this is the old Andy Reid adage, fastballs. We love throwing fastballs. What he meant by that is, this was in reference to the defensive line. This is when they really started to incorporate the rotation stuff, where you were always just, somebody else. I kind of think that's what this is. You're throwing a lot of fastballs at him. And the other thing is, it is reminiscent of 2017 in that Jay Ajayi was kind of your Swift guy. LeGarrette Blount was kind of your Rashad Penny.
He was a battering ram. Yep.
Yeah. So you have your bruiser, you have your home run hitter, you have your I think that you see traits in both Scott and Gainwell of both of those guys, which is kind of about right because they're the backups.
And Corey Clement was a rookie change of pace guy.
True. And we saw him in the Super Bowl. What a catch in the back of the end zone, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let me give you a couple updates NFL wise. So according to Pro Football Talk, MRI, there's a report that the MRI reveals no structural damage to CJGJ's knee.
Good.
All right. So let's start there. The Naheem Hines, which we didn't even really get into too much here, out for the season with a knee injury. Apparently, he was hit with a jet ski in the knee.
What?
Yeah, and he's done for the year.
Yeah.
So
that's a shame.
That's that's one of those things. Like the guy's just kind of living his life, and something really unfortunate happened. It just sucks. It sucks. So
I think of the player. Who was a player that got hurt on a beach? I think running on a beach. And,
Robert Edwards.
Yeah, tore up his knee or his Achilles.
It was never the same. It was in one of those like Pro Bowl, like flag football games or something. Yeah.
I'm not gonna blame a guy for just enjoying himself before training camp starts.
I'm not either.
It's a freak accident. It happened. But a jet ski. I wonder how was it at full force he got hit? I mean, ooh.
Yeah, that we don't know. I don't know. If we get more information, we'll pass
That's
it
a
along.
shame.
I know.
Shame,
that one's too bad. But anyway, back to the good news on Gardner Johnson. But back to the Eagles running back thing. I think, look, your greatest fear is obviously the first two guys you're going to get hurt in some capacity because of their entire career. They haven't been able to stay healthy. That's what worries you more than anything else. I think in theory, in setup on paper, this thing sets up nicely. You have four guys who can play, who have different skills, and that's good. But like the big thing is, by week 8, are you just down to Gainwell and Boston Scott and, some guys you got off the street? That's what concerns you.
Well, if Penny or Swift get hurt, I mean, you still have Trey Sermon in the fold, unless they decide to cut him because of a numbers game,
Yeah.
I fully expect him to be on the practice squad as a safety valve. And if both of those guys went down, I fully expect Howie Roseman to go out and find another proven back sitting out there waiting for somebody to call him. So as intriguing as the running back position is, and as much of a concern as the health of two of those guys are, I don't worry about it because Howie Roseman will find somebody.
Yep.
And in terms of finding somebody behind that offensive line, it's a plug-and-play situation, Yep. That offensive line is still going to do what it's doing. They're going to open holes for the backs. All the backs have to do is find the right hole. Something Miles Sanders didn't do as well as we liked him to is find the right hole. He'd always cut back when he should have kept straight or, kept straight when he should have cut back. But still, he parlayed that into a 1,200-yard season. But if these guys run these stretch runs the way they're supposed to run, I hate to say this, it doesn't make a difference who's running behind that offensive line. They're going to get 4 or 5 yards of carry.
Yep.
Period.
Yeah, it's a really good setup that they have. All right, let's jump into our greatest series. And what we're doing is we're trying to lead you into camp, which some are underway. Everybody will be, each and every team at some point this week will be added. The Eagles are tomorrow. Clearly, that's our big focus. But we've been doing our greatest top 10 from each team thus far. I think we do the Eagles tomorrow, don't you?
How many teams do we have left? I was trying to say Eagles for a Friday.
We're running out of teams.
Close out a week with the Eagles on a Friday.
But Eagles Friday's fair. All right, we'll do that.
Maybe 6, 7 teams left, if that.
Yeah, we've been doing this now for a while. All right, let's do Falcons. You get first crack, as always.
I want to go Michael Vick. Michael Vick redefined the dual threat quarterback when he came into the league. Everybody was wild by what he did at Virginia as this running quarterback with a cannon for an arm. And sure enough, he hit the ground running in the National Football League, same type of quarterback. He was the ultimate weapon. He was a novelty back in. Now, the dual threat quarterback is an everyday occurrence in the National Football League. Everybody's looking for already have that next dual threat type quarterback in the National Football League. But Michael Vick just transformed that position beyond belief. Big, strong guy. I should say he was 6'1", just strong and fast as the wind. I think he ran like a 4.3.
Yep.
A 4.2, 4.3, something like that. Had a good career. Unfortunately, never got to compete for that Super Bowl trophy. And of course, his career was tainted with the dogfighting incident.
Yep.
He lost a couple of seasons there. But Michael Vick was a phenomenal talent that put up some good numbers. He had over 22,000 yards passing for that organization. And 133 touchdowns and 83 interceptions, 36 rushing touchdowns.
Wow.
Michael Vick put people in the seats everywhere he went. Whether you were a Falcons fan or not, everybody had to see the Michael Vick show.
I agree. Look, you're right. The shame of it is he should have been there for 14 years. Like he should have been that guy. And it was all his own doing and undoing, if you will. But yeah, I mean, he was such a remarkable talent. I mean, the ability to rip off 80 yards or flick a wrist and throw it 80 yards. And it all seems so effortless. It really did. He was dynamic.
Yep.
I remember when he went into Green Bay and won that playoff game when nobody gave Atlanta a chance.
Oh,
man. And it just looked like they were on their way, and it never, now, unfortunately, it never came to fruition. He'll be the first one to tell you he should have worked harder too, even with all of his God-given talent. But no, he was a great player for sure. Look, I'll throw Dion in there.
Yeah.
When it was only 5 years, it's crazy. He only played there 89 to 93. It was quick. But all 5 years, he's a Pro Bowler. And it wasn't just the ability to intercept passes or shut down a total side of a football field. It was the punt return ability that he had. He was a game breaker in so many different ways. And he's one of those guys, very much like Sauce Gardner, who stepped right in there, and immediately you knew this guy was an elite of the elite. That's how good that guy was. So even though it was short-lived and he ended up bouncing around a lot, San Fran, Dallas, a bunch of other places, to me, I still, those Falcon years are like just seared in my memory with him, with the way he started his career.
Yeah, no, there's no question about it. His return game back then was just lethal. But back in 1989, he was such a versatile athlete because he was playing Major League Baseball at the same time also.
Right.
This guy in the same week hit a home run in the major leagues and scored a touchdown in the NFL in the same week.
Insane.
It's insane. He'd have a private jet or a helicopter to take him from one game to the next. He was playing both games at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And neither one suffered.
No. It was unbelievable.
It was what he was able to do. He would tell you, I dare you to throw at me. The teams will not throw at him. Now, he would tell you he didn't get paid to tackle. He would tell you that straight up. Hey, I'm not here to tackle. They asked me to cover.
Mm-hmm.
Tackling was a business decision with Dion.
Yes.
But in his day, there was no better shutdown corner in the National Football League than Deion Sanders.
Yep,
no question about it.
All right.
If you look now, when you came to arriving at Dion with the Atlanta Falcons, here's how I put him with the Falcons. He played 5 years in Atlanta.
Yep.
And then he played 1 year in San Francisco, and then 5 years in Dallas.
Yeah.
And what it came down to was, all right, Atlanta drafted him. I got to go with Atlanta because that's where he made his mark. So that's how I put him with Atlanta instead of Dallas.
You know what? I'm with you in that sense. Like he got a slight nod with Atlanta for me, but I get it. Like that impacts how I view some of these guys. Like, are they more of another team? Or are they more of this team? So that sometimes could leave somebody off the list potentially as I'm doing this. But who else do you have?
I'm surprised you didn't put Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan was there 14 seasons.
I had him as my number 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan had an incredible career with the Atlanta Falcons. Unfortunately, he will always be associated with that team that blew the biggest Super Bowl league in the history of the Super Bowl. That wasn't on him. That was more so on the defense than the offense.
And coaching, too. I didn't like the way that was coached. Yep.
But over 62,000 passing yards for his career. A really good quarterback. Could you put Matt Ryan in the status of elite?
I think he was. I think he certainly wasn't towards the end. No denying that. But I thought he was elite, Derek. I think he had 5-6 elite years. I do. His numbers are incredible.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. And unfortunately, to me, he was like, again, that guy I talked about, Kirk Cousins. Great regular season quarterback, just couldn't get it done in the postseason. Always something happened with him. I think his stats in his postseason, he was 4-6 in his career.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you can't blame all of that on the quarterback, but he never really shined except for that 1 year he went to the Super Bowl. You're right. Matt Ryan Dank was an MVP 1 year, yes, and deservedly so. He had a couple of phenomenal years down in Atlanta, no question about it. Unfortunately, he never got to hoist that trophy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, so 14 seasons with the Falcons, almost 60,000 passing yards, 367 touchdowns, 4 Pro Bowls, and an MVP. Damn good. And you know, represented the organization in a good way. So I'll give him some love there. For
and sure. He's a Philly native, right?
Yeah, he went to Penn Charter High School.
There you go.
Julio Jones. I got to go Julio. You know, I was surprised. Only 2 first-team All-Pros, but still 7 Pro Bowls. He's been selected to the 2010 All-Decades team. The combination of size, speed, and hands that he had during his prime. He's had a couple years where we all know he's kind of hanging on at this point. But when he was good, he was right there with any receiver in the game, and fun to watch too with the strength.
Dude, a big receiver who could run. His hands were incredible. He didn't drop many passes. Physical, fearless, go over the middle, wasn't afraid to go over the middle, didn't have the alligator arms, tough as nails, man. A linebacker playing wide receiver, that was his mentality.
Yeah.
And I just love watching him play. Could go up, make the acrobatic catches, take the 50-50 balls 9 times out of 10 from a DB. Just a complete receiver. Over 13,000 yards in his career. Will he be a Hall of Fame receiver when it's all said and done?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think he's very close. He's very, very close. Oh, I didn't tell you. So speaking of this, so Daz brings this up. I like Kirk Cousins after watching QB. Mahomes loves him some Mahomes, and his wife is annoying as hell. So I agree. So here are my takeaways. I watched the first 2 episodes. I'm going to watch a couple more tonight. Okay. Or hopefully I'll get one in before the Phillies game. So here's my takeaways, Derek. And I know, have you watched all of them yet? Are you done with all of them?
I've seen them all.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm 2 in. Now, mind you, I'm early, right? I'm early in it. 1, Cousins does genuinely seem like a nice person. Like he seems like a very grounded, like gets it, appreciates his lot in life guy. He seems
great
like
analogy. Yep.
First thing. Second thing is, I don't know how much Marcus Mariota really wants to play football. I don't know that it hasn't kind of beaten him down at this point. Just again, I need to see more. I'm only 2 in, so let me see more. And lastly, this is where I'm with Daz. Mahomes' wife is a handful. He's a handful.
Yeah, that's an understatement. Yeah.
Whoa.
You can tell that she loves playing the role of a pro football player's wife.
Yep.
And there was a video that came out during the NBA season where they're sitting courtside at a game, and she's saying something, and he looks at her. He takes his arm from around her and says something to her, and then looks away from her, like, "Okay, enough is enough here."
Yeah, just like calm down a little bit, please.
But yeah, she is. I'm trying to be nice here. I really am, but. If that was my wife, I'd be looking for hobbies to spend outside of the home. More so.
Yeah. But
did you see that house he had built?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
So but here's what I would say. I've thoroughly enjoyed it so far. I think it's very well done. It reminded me of how much I miss all the stuff NFL Films used to do.
Yes,
it's absolutely. That well produced. You know what I mean? Like it's just good. It's just you're really engaged in it, and I've really enjoyed it so far, and I'm looking forward to the next couple of them.
I think when you get this, let me know when you get to the end. And remember, I said this last week, and I'll say it again. I think that series portrayed the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And I don't want to give too much away, but people will understand what I'm talking about if you watch the entire series. And secondly, I don't know what 3 quarterbacks they're going to find next year to equal what they put out there this year, because obviously you don't want to use the same quarterback, even if it's Mahomes, who is the poster boy of the NFL right now. You don't want to use Mahomes. You got to.
No, you can't. Yeah, it has to be 3 different guys.
Yeah,
it has to.
But what 3 quarterbacks are going to give you what these 3 gave you in the introduction to a series like this?
Yeah,
because this is something I could watch a second time, to be honest with you.
I'm with you. So far, so good. I'm loving it so far. All right, let's hit a couple other Falcons. So I just gave you Julio. Where are you going? Where are you going next?
Claude Humphrey. Claude Humphrey
love Claude Humphrey.
My goodness. You talk about a great athlete at 6'6", 255 pounds, nonstop motor, Hall of Fame, 130 career sacks,
yep.
You know, 5-time Pro Bowler. Coming off that edge, man, that dude was lightning quick off the edge and strong against the run. When we decided to do the Falcons, I always try to do a list by memory first, more so than starting to look up the greatest of the organization. Right. And his name was definitely one of the top 4 names I came up with in terms of what he meant to that Atlanta Falcons organization.
So did I ever tell you my Claude Humphrey milk dud story?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you remember, he finished his career with the Eagles. He was very good for the Eagles in 1980. Very good. Like he was a huge part of them getting to the Super Bowl. Claude Humphrey was one of the genuinely nicest people you will ever be around. Okay. Yes. So I'm a little kid, and the Eagles used to have training camp at Westchester University. This is before they went to Lehigh. Okay. Way back in the day, it was Hershey, then it was Widener, then it was Westchester, then it was Lehigh. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I'm out there as a kid. My dad was the assistant ticket manager for a couple of years. So I had some access to the players.
Yep.
And Claude Humphrey, I ended up carrying his helmet. He had to take, I forget what he had to do. He did something where like I carried his helmet back to the locker room, and he's like, all right, I gotta run up and get my other spikes out of my dorm and this and that. You want to take a walk with me? I'm like, are you kidding? So I go up, and he's got this stash of candy in his room. He was like a junk food guy, sweets. He was a sweets guy. He's like, you like Milk Duds? I'm like, yeah, I like Milk Duds. He's like, here, man. He gave me a whole thing of Milk Duds. Like I kept the box. I was so like, he was the nicest man. So anyway,
I'm glad you put him on. Still have the box. Do you still have the box?
No, I don't. I wish I did. If I did, I would have showed it to you. But I'm glad you put him on there because he was a great NFL player. He was. All right, I'll give a little bit of love. This is kind of an old school guy. Tommy Nobis was a linebacker for them for 11 years. He was Rookie of the Year, first team All-Pro, and All-60s team. He was a Falcon from 66 to 76, where they weren't great during those times, but he was a great player. That dude deserves props. He doesn't get a lot of love nationally. I think people kind of forget about him, but he was very good. I'll throw an old school guy in there because he does deserve a little props.
If you want to know anything about Tommy Nobis, he was known for being a hard hitter. Miami Dolphins running back Larry Zonka once said, I'd rather play Dick Butkus than to play Tommy Nobis.
Wow.
That's the ultimate compliment.
Yeah, it is.
His old coach, Norm Van Brocklin, said when they went in the locker room one time, they said, they went to his locker and said, this is where our football team dresses at his locker. Yeah. That's what he meant to that organization. This dude was one of the most tenacious hitters known to mankind, but he doesn't get the notoriety of a Dick Butkus, a Jack Lambert, Ray Nitschke, guys like that. But Tommy Nobis was known back in his day for knocking people out. Yeah. And when he hit you, you felt it.
That's all. That's high praise when Zonka's saying that. That's for sure.
He was also the first player ever drafted. He was the first player drafted overall and the first player drafted by the Falcons expansion organization.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yep. You're right about that. You're right about that. All right, who else do you have?
I would have to say Jesse Tuggle makes that list.
Yes.
This guy had over 1,600 tackles. Do you know he only had over 1,600 tackles? Only 164 were assisted. That means this dude was a solo tackling machine.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Played all 14 of his seasons with the Atlanta Falcons. At the time of his retirement, he held the record for the most fumble recoveries returned for a touchdown, which was 5 at that time.
Okay.
But he was all over the field for a linebacker. Played there from 87 to 2000, all over the field. Constant disrupting force on that defense. Jesse Tuggle was an outstanding Falcon linebacker for that organization. I agree with you.
Very good choice. Very good choice. I'll throw another old school guy, Mike Ken. Mike Ken was an offensive lineman who played 17 years for the Falcons and was damn good. I mean, he was good up until the very end. He probably could have played 20 years, but he just had enough and walked away. That dude was a stabilizing force for them for a long time.
Did they wear helmets back when he played?
Yeah, he's not that old.
Did they wear a face mask when he played?
He's not that old. I want to say he was like 60s into the 70s. Let me see if I can find what his years were. I want to let's see. Yeah, not that 78. He played 78 to 94.
I was just kidding.
Yeah,
I put John Abraham on the list. Great defensive end who played linebacker for him also during his tenure. Here's why I put him on the list. Now, he was drafted by the Jets, and he played his first 6 seasons with the Jets, but then he played 7 seasons down in Atlanta. He had 53.5 sacks when he was with the Jets. He had 68.5 sacks with Atlanta. So I thought, as good as he was with the Jets, I thought he was more impactful down in Atlanta. He had 133.5 career sacks, 5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro. I think his last season was plagued by an injury. It was the second game of the last season he played, and he was playing out in Arizona. Bruce Arians was the head coach, and he was so nicked up, he walked in and talked to Bruce Arians for extended amount of time after that second game of the season, and came out and said, "I'm retired." He didn't finish out the season.
Yep.
He knew when to quit, but man, what a stud along the defensive line and playing outside linebacking position.
Yeah, he was. All right, I got to throw this guy in there just for the nickname, and he was a stud. Andre Bad Moon Rising.
There you go. There you go.
He was a little goofy. He was a little diva-ish. You know, there was a lot going on there with Andre, but the dude was a phenomenal receiver.
He will always be remembered for throwing down with Deion Sanders in a game.
Yep.
And they both would tell you that what led to that fight was the fact that they were buddy. They were like Batman and Robin. And when Deion left, he never told Andre he was leaving, and Andre, that really got to him. So when they squared off early in the game, that's one of the most iconic videos you'll ever see.
Yep.
Game is early in the game, play is going on, they stop, and they're busting each other in the helmet until the referees finally step in.
Yep.
But Andre Rison was a phenomenal receiver. Won a Super Bowl with Green Bay.
Had a big time return in that game too.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and phenomenal talent. Of course, you know, his personal life was a little iffy. I mean, he had his house burned down. But, you know, hey, you know, everybody goes through something, right?
Rest in peace, Left Eye. Yep. I got you. All right, I'll throw one more in there. And I remember him as a kid. He was a very good running back. Really, really good. I was always a big fan of this guy, William Andrews. William Andrews was a good running back, man. Number 31. He was tough. He was like early 80s, late 70s. Yeah. Real good.
Tough between the tackles. Turner, not easy to bring down. You know, he didn't rack up wild stats, right. But you talk about quality back. You know, there's so many quality backs we've watched throughout our careers. He fits in that category, just a quality back who got the most out of the time he had in the National Football League.
Yep, always a big fan. Jamal Anderson deserves a little love too. He had some very good years for them. It was a little short. Yeah.
I'll put Roddy White there since you brought receiver. Mm-hmm. Roddy White, you know, the year he came out, he was drafted 27th by the Falcons that year. 5 wide receivers went ahead of him.
Wow.
In that draft. Braylon Edwards went to Cleveland at number 3. Troy Williamson, who was a bust, went number 7 to Minnesota. Mike Williams, another big, tall, lanky receiver, went number 10 to Detroit.
Yep.
Matt Jones, who was a quarterback in college, converted to a wide receiver.
Oh, my God. Yeah, Kentucky.
To Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And Mark Clayton went 22nd to Oakland.
Wow. It is not even close to the best career there, man.
Yeah. No, he had over 10,000 yards receiving. Phenomenal talent. Obviously not a Hall of Fame receiver, but a very good receiver.
Very good. Yeah, he was very good. You're right. He deserves some love. He got to get overshadowed by Julio and some of the other receivers they had there. But he was very, very good. Good choices. All right, that one was fun.
I got one more for you. Steve Bartkowski. How soon before there was a Matty Ice, there was Steve Bartkowski.
He was good. He was tough too. He played a long time. Those teams were. I think it never they'd have a tough time getting past like Alice. You know what I mean, or some of those other teams.
Yeah.
He was good.
He was the first overall player taken in the 1975 draft. He was one of only 10 quarterbacks who who accounted for 30 touchdown passes in back-to-back seasons at least once in their careers.
Okay.
And if you look at his stats overall, His overall stats as a quarterback in the NFL are just, they're okay. His completion percentage was like 55 or 56%. But he had 2 great back-to-back years, the years he threw for 30 touchdown passes. But he was in Atlanta so long, everybody down in Atlanta loved Steve Bartkowski. So I thought I'd throw him on the list as well.
Yeah, played there 11 years.
He was actually the first client ever of Lee Steinberg.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay.
1975, yep.
All right. All right. So what we'll do is we'll come back and we'll continue with the NFL momentum here. Got an update on some injuries, which we'll pass along, including Kadarius Toney and some other stuff that's been happening around the league. But NFL running backs have a summit, Derek, and they're trying to get some more money. We'll get into all those kind of things. So don't go anywhere. He's Derek. I'm Rob. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. We're going to talk about Flynn Tree Services right now. Flynn Tree Services is an experienced, licensed, and insured Pennsylvania tree services company that will trim or remove any unwanted trees off of your property. They're just a quick phone call away, and they service southeastern Pennsylvania, South Jersey, and northern Delaware. Keep in mind, it's a great time to get your trees evaluated now before we get some of the nastier weather in later on in the summer. Go to their Facebook or Instagram page for more information or a sampling of their work. Give Flynn Tree Services a call at 610-850-2848, 610-850-2848, or online at Flynn Tree.